After President Obama visits Japan and Singapore, he'll complete the rest of his inaugural Asian tour by heading to China and South Korea. The Obama administration's facing a range of challenges in Asia. We just heard about Japan, but the US also has a complicated relationship with China and a desire to see major political and human rights reforms in North Korea and Burma. Dr. Kurt Campbell is the US State Department's most senior official on the region as the Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs. He's accompanying the President on this trip, and he joined me earlier from Tokyo. Dr. Campbell, many thanks for being with us.
Oh, it's great to be with you, Lee.
Do you think it's in America's interest to publicly make it clear that there's a qualitative difference between its relationship with its natural allies in the region, democracies like Japan and Australia, for instance, and other nations such as China?
Well, I think the truth is everyone understands that the nations with which we share fundamental values, democracy, respect for human rights, that our relationship is deeper and more profound. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And to the extent that we're able to cooperate with those nations, I think everyone understands and appreciates. But the truth is that for many of the challenges that we face today collectively, challenges like climate change and fundamentalism and other problems, the financial crisis, it requires a broader-based group of countries to act collectively, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. So in many respects, you will see in our approach to Asia a continuing commitment to enduring American values, which are really universal values, but at the same time an appreciation that to be truly effective on the modern challenges of the day, we have to bring other nations into the tent.
How do you think America's influence in Asia compares to China's influence?
China's influence is clearly on the rise, but one of the things that we see in our travels throughout Asia is that there is a strong desire for a strong American commitment to Asia that endures, and that I think most nations feel confident when they know that the United States appreciates its long-term interests in maintaining a critical role in the Asia-Pacific region. And I think one of the roles of the Obama trip is to underscore that we understand that as well, and that we are here to stay, here to play, and we're going to be an important, in many respects, dominant presence throughout the next century.
At the moment, the US-China relationship is stable, but given the imbalances created by the country's economic policies, given that their political systems are very different, given the simmering issues like Tibet and Taiwan, will the US and China ever have a mature relationship characterised by mutual trust?
I think that the United States and China already have a mature relationship or a maturing relationship, but the fundamental fact is that it is a complicated relationship. In addition to being mature, there are going to be elements in which the United States and China must cooperate closely. And in fact, if you look over the course of the last year, one of the most important ingredients in the modest financial recovery that we've seen globally has been the ability of the United States and China to work relatively well together on stimulating the global economy. We're also working closely together on issues like North Korea, and increasingly on Iran, and hopefully on climate change. There's an appreciation in both Beijing and Washington that the United States and China must work together on these issues. But at the same time, there is an inevitable areas of competition between the United States and China, and we should accept that the nature of our relationship now and going forward will be complicated and complex. We will never have a relationship with China that is either black or white. There are going to be mixtures of hue and color, and what's incumbent on American policymakers is to appreciate that and to recognize that where we can, we need to make sure that our competition remains in an acceptable window, and that we don't stray into unnecessary conflict or tensions that has the potential to undermine the other aspects of our relationship that are very positive, or to create larger tensions in the region. And that's the essential effort of our diplomacy going forward.
On the China leg of his trip, will President Obama raise human rights?
Of course. We raise human rights in every meeting that we have with our Chinese interlocutors, and this meeting will be no exception.
You were interviewed on New Zealand television last month and asked about a remark when George Bush called Australia America's sheriff in the region. You said you thought that language wasn't helpful. How would you characterise the US-Australia relationship?
Well, what I tried to say was not that it wasn't helpful, but it was more that I'm not sure Western images and, cowboy hats and, six shooters are the right way to picture an incredibly complicated strategic environment in the Asia-Pacific region. All I can tell you is that I think that President Bush and Prime Minister Howard played an incredibly important role during the first part of the 21st century in the aftermath of 9/11. A close relationship, keen partnership on the so-called war on terror, and deep confidence on a range of issues. And I think we respect that, and we think that it played an incredibly important role in taking our bilateral relationship to the next step. One of the things that I've been impressed by, however, is that just as Howard and Bush worked very closely together in this new strategic environment, we have another very tight and respectful partnership with deep, I think, confidence on both sides between Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, and President Obama. And I'm appreciative for that, and I think it allows us to continue this process to make clear that the U.S.-Australian relationship now is perhaps one of the most important relationships, bilateral relationships, that the United States has with any country in the world, and clearly, if not the most important, one of the most important in the Asia-Pacific region.
Dr. Kurt Campbell, we always appreciate you making the time to appear on Lateline. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All the best to you down under.